prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is Sales Logic, the show where we discuss everything that you need to know to sell more effectively. I'm Meredith Elliott Powell, hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter, and we are early this morning because, unlike me, Mark is working this morning.
Oh, come on, back off. Anyway, hey, we are talking about marketing and sales. The ultimate power couple? Maybe the ultimate argument. Marketing and sales, that's the topic we're going to dive into. We got a great lightning round. Lightning round we're going to talk about is top 10 ways to follow up without being annoying. That's worth sticking around for. So let's jump into it. Marketing and sales, are they the ultimate power couple? I got a few things I'll say, but I'll let you go first.
Oh, no. You start. This sounds controversial for you. Go for it.
Well, it is controversial because here's the whole thing. The only reason marketing has sales and sales has marketing is so you have someone else to blame when you don't make your numbers. Okay, so that's that. We got to get that joke out on the table right there. Here's the whole situation. Too many times marketing and sales is running with separate KPIs. They have separate initiatives, separate objectives. And I'll tell you what, the thing that drives me nuts is marketing is all about, hey, we're going to create leads. No, you're creating names. You're just getting us names. You're not getting us qualified leads. And that's the big disconnect that I have. The two have got to work together. They can be the ultimate power couple, but too many times they're on different agendas.
Yeah, I totally think they're the ultimate power couple. I think that it is. I mean, if you don't take anything else from this show today, I think your greatest competitive advantage is that to really marry marketing and sales so closely together, to really, really build that bridge. You know, when I was coming up in sales, marketing was on one side of the building and sales was on the other. And that was kind of fine because, in all honesty, as a sales professional, I didn't need marketing. They didn't have to be a part of my process. I was doing just fine on my own. But in today's marketplace, salespeople, you can't separate yourselves from the marketing team. The marketing team can still function without sales. I mean, they can be their own little entity creating visibility, but sales, you got to build that bridge. You've got to go out there because what's going to happen? I almost think of them, Mark, like AI. I can hand marketing things to do so that I can do what I do best, and that is to stay customer facing.
That is so good because really what marketing is all about, it's about creating brand awareness, brand equity. That's what marketing does best. I still feel very strongly that sales needs to own the prospecting process. They need to own that whole lead generation. Now, marketing can help develop leads. That's great. But the two have got to be on the same page. And that's what I see not happening too often. Because again, a qualified sales lead is not the same thing as a qualified marketing lead. Hey, you got that? We got that comment from Bryn. Let's pop that up there. Real alignment between sales and marketing happens when we stop chasing Google keywords and start listening to buyers in real time. So true, so powerful in that. Because again, what happens too often is marketing is just chasing. They're just chasing the numbers. And you've got to be able to get in deeper than that because that's what sales needs.
Yeah, I love what she went on to say here. She said, AI call assistants let marketing tap into live transcripts to uncover what your ideal customer profile is really asking and turn those insight into FAQ content that highlights both the questions and the thought leader sales reps bring in the answers. I mean, I think this is such a beautiful marriage that you can really, really take advantage of, because I think the role of the sales professional has really changed as well. I mean, as sales professionals, our job is to listen to the customers, because I think that AI does it, everything does it. We see the comments people make, but there's nothing like that conversation. And I can go back to product development. I can go back to the content team. I can go back to those that make videos in our organizations, and I can say, here's what I've learned from the customer. And basically, in what I've learned from the customer, now develop content for me on how to really get out there and be visible with customers.
And that's what's key. Marketing needs to keep the message tight. And this is where I again, get concerned that sometimes marketing can try to spray too wide of a picture. One of the things that marketing does very well is dealing with the ICP, the ideal customer profile, staying very tight in that space, creating awareness. So when sales is making the calls, the customer, oh yeah, I know you guys. I've heard of you guys. I'm aware of you guys. I know something about you. I really consider that marketing is kind of the Air Force. They provide the air cover, and sales is the Army. They kind of come in on the ground. And when the two are working together, it can be absolutely beautiful. But you gotta get the same objectives, the same outcomes.
Yeah. So Mark, that leads to a really good question. I mean, you alluded to it a little bit at the opening. I mean, why don't marketing and sales get along? I mean, you mentioned different KPIs, but what are the other reasons? Why is there a rub there?
Well, I think there's a rub because historically, marketing has always felt that they're these elite people. I came out of CPG, consumer packaged goods. And all of the marketing people came from Wharton. They came from Harvard. They came from the prestigious schools, and they had a little bit of an attitude about themselves that we were much better than salespeople. And so what happened is they see things from a macro perspective. And again, this is what marketing does very well. They understand things. They understand trends. They understand what's happening in the marketplace from a macro perspective. But from a sales perspective, we're much more micro-oriented because we're dealing with customers one-on-one. And that's where kind of the rub begins to occur, because marketing will create initiatives and objectives and that are very lofty in nature. Great, wonderful. But at the end of the day, sales has got to deliver the quarterly number. And that's what they're looking for. Help right there.
That's funny because my experience was really opposite. In my experience, I was part of the sales team, and I thought we were aloof, and I thought we were better than everybody else because we brought in the revenue. And when we brought in the revenue, we didn't really care what anybody else's advice would do, and we didn't want anybody else to really touch our customers. And so therefore, we weren't willing to educate marketing about what we needed and about what we wanted in order to be more effective, in order to be more effective in our roles. So I think there's blame to go, to go on both sides of it. And I think if I were sitting in a sales organization today, I wouldn't wait for marketing to come to me. I would go to marketing and I would build those bridges. And I would really be looking for ways to help marketing be more effective, because that's the other thing too. Like, sales gets kudos in an organization because they generate revenue. In my opinion, they're the most powerful people in any single company, because if you generate revenue, executive leadership is not going to argue with you. Marketing is so squishy. It's hard to put your finger on whether marketing worked or not. And if you can help marketing be effective, if you can help marketing be relevant, marketing is going to do more to help you.
Absolutely spot on there. And this is where I think sales, you need to be reaching out to marketing and saying, hey, help me with this specific thing. Bring them in on sales calls. Bring them in. That was one of the most effective things that I always found, is when I could get marketing people to be joining in on sales calls so they really understand what's happening. Because otherwise what happens is they kind of sit in their cubicle. They're kind of over here in this little world, and they think they know what the picture is. And it's not the picture. I love Bryn's comments, content that sales needs. Yeah, especially for LinkedIn, needs to lead to our solution, not with it. That's the whole key thing, because many times I have found that marketing can get caught up. And this is what I hate about sales kickoff meetings, because marketing will come in and they'll deliver content that's not sales focused. And it's got to be absolutely sales focused. Hey, Andy Greenberg is jumping in here also with a great comment. Yeah, jump in.
That's all right. I just wanted to say one thing, because I think that Bryn had a mic drop here. And her mic drop is that content that sales needs to lead with a solution, needs to lead to a solution, not with it. That's a mic drop moment right here on this podcast. Lead to the solution, not with it. I mean, that's so incredibly important. I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, because that's absolutely powerful, because that's the role of sales. Sales is then the solution provider. I love Andy's comment. Andy comes out of consumer packaged goods also. Marketing cannot understand why sales is not closing every deal. That's so true. I mean, I can't tell you the number of quarter end conversations I would get into with marketing people, and I still do in my consulting role at various companies, where marketing is sitting here saying, hey, how come sales isn't doing this? Because they don't understand what is an MQL, marketing qualified lead, and what is an SQL, sales qualified lead. Two vastly different things.
Yeah. And if marketing doesn't understand, I think one of the most powerful things you can take from this podcast today is own that. They don't understand because you've never engaged them in the process. Think of marketing like an extension of your sales process. And the more effective, it's like if you hired a sales assistant, you wouldn't just throw him into the process and go, well, hope he figures it out, right? No, you train him. You train him to do the things, to follow up with customers the way you want customers followed up with, to handle your CRM the way you want your CRM handled. You would train him. Do the same with marketing.
You know, it really points to the question of the week this week. It comes from Renee in Montreal. She says, I'm a VP of sales at a growing SaaS company. Marketing generates a ton of leads, but my team says they're not qualified. What's the best way to get sales and marketing aligned without constant finger pointing? Take a marketing person to lunch. Take a marketing person out on that sales call. It's this whole thing. You've got to get in the same space, talking with the same things. You've got to help marketing track customers all the way through the buying process. Let them understand what is this decision-making tree that the customer goes on. Marketing has to understand that all the way through, because otherwise they're going to sit off here creating stuff that looks pretty, feels good, but does not deliver.
Yeah, I think, a couple of things. Number one is, this is such a good question. Number one is you, the leader, are going to set the tone. If you love marketing, your team will love marketing. So you need to start right there. Number two, you all need to get into the room for a strategy session. You need to clearly define the ICP. I mean, we're assuming from this question that marketing is off. Maybe marketing has the right ICP and your team's not chasing the right people. I've seen that more. In fact, one of the biggest reasons I think deals don't close is because salespeople don't clearly define and understand an ideal customer profile. And then marketing and sales need to agree on what the sales process is and what marketing's role is in that sales process. Because to me, they start it and they finish it. They should be your follow-up process as well. And you may even use them in the middle of the process. But everybody needs to understand where they fit into the sales process and what their role is. And then you don't need to just do this meeting once. On a quarterly basis, you need to get together as a marketing and a sales team and ask yourself, what content stuck last month? Like, what grew the business? What got us through the door to the decision maker? What was effective? Then ask yourselves, what wasn't? What are we doing that's a waste of time and a waste of energy? And then what are some ideas that we could be doing that could really take things to the next level?
I love that, because you got to get together at the top. And this is where I see so many CMOs, chief marketing officer, and CSO, chief sales officer. They never get together. They have to be together. This is the whole role of the CRO, the chief revenue officer. One of the things that I'm going to throw out something very controversial here. If you're in a B2B organization, marketing needs to report to sales. Whoa, that kind of blew some people away. But here's the flip side. If I'm in a B2C organization or a consumer-facing organization, then marketing drives the ship. Okay, that's even more controversial. But I say this because you got to understand the buying decision of the customer, where they're at. But minimally, what I'm saying, the two have got to get on the same page, marketing and sales at the top. Because if they're not together at the top, they are not going to be together down lower in the trenches.
Yeah, I love what Andy is saying here. Great marketing drives qualified customers to the salesperson. Exactly, Andy. That's the role. The best example is automobiles. Marketing drives you to the showroom. So well said, Andy. I mean, imagine where would the marketing team be? And if salespeople were waiting for people to show up at the showroom in today's marketplace, they would be in big trouble because so much of it is done online. So much of it is done online these days. So they're definitely a team that really needs one another, but it is too often they're working in vacuums.
And this is where marketing really drives shareholder value. Would anybody go in and pay $5 for a cup of coffee at Starbucks without marketing? Would anybody pay 3 times the price they need to for an Apple product without marketing? Marketing drives shareholder value, creates brand equity. So it plays a very key role, but you got to get linked up because, again, just like Andy said, if marketing isn't doing its thing, showroom traffic for an automobile, oh boy, that dealership would be pretty quiet. Very
Yeah,
quiet.
I also think as salespeople and marketing people, going back to our listener today who had the question, you really need to think about the handoffs. I mean, when does sales pick up the ball and run with it? And what is marketing's goal to get you to the opportunity that you can have a sales call? And we all know sales would be so easy if all you ever had to do was call on a customer and the deal would close. But often you're going to need marketing to come back in and help with that nurturing sequence. I think they create visibility, they warm the customer up, they nurture, and then they look for cross-sell opportunities once the deal is closed.
I like that. Marketing is all about buyer interest. Is there interest on the part of the buyer? Sales, buyer intent. What we have to do is we got to figure out what are the variables, what are the factors, what is it that's going to bring the two together? And when you understand both those, the buyer interest and the buyer intent, then I think you can really truly align yourself. But here's the whole thing. Let's go back to that old expression, and it's been attributed to a number of different people. I don't know which part of my advertising, I'm going to butcher the quote. 50% of my advertising doesn't work. I just don't know which 50%, right? I don't know who.
I think you're pretty spot on with the quote.
Yeah. So, I just don't know who to attribute it to. Okay, I'll attribute it to you. Here's the situation. We got to understand we have to be constantly evaluating, just as we do the sales process. We have to be constantly evaluating the marketing process because it's too easy to think that we're taking clicks and likes to the bank. And my bank doesn't take clicks and likes. It just doesn't happen.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning, Jackson. Bryn Tillman's got a great quote. This is at the core, a challenger sales concept that highlights the insights lead to conversations. They do. The insights lead to conversations where product pitch is of little interest to buyers, especially in today's marketplace. It is of little to no interest to buyers.
That is so true. And so we got to kind of come back and ask ourselves, I'm going to throw out the question, what would you consider an MQL and what would you consider an SQL? Marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead.
Well, I think they really need to be the same qualified lead. I mean, marketing needs to be handing me a lead that has potential to be a sales qualified lead.
Thank you. Ding, ding, ding. Meredith gets to come back and play Sales Logic again next week because that is the answer. That's the biggest problem at all. We have allowed ourselves to have 2 separate definitions. Ultimately, it is the exact same thing. It is bringing a customer to the table that sales can close. That is the ultimate definition of the right lead as to what both parties need to be going after.
All day long. I mean, they've got to be, again, but that's why you need to have that meeting on the front end. That's why you both need to be focused on the same target. That's why you need to be working the same, the same plan. I think far too often, both marketing and sales get all wrapped up in getting credit. And the truth is, we don't know who got the business across the finish line. Salespeople argue all the time that they got the business across the finish line because they closed the deal. But the truth is, would you ever be at the door if it wasn't for the marketing department? And at the end of the day, as long as we generate the revenue, who really cares. The goal is to say, wow, this email campaign got opened this amount of times. Maybe we should do more things like that. Or when we posted these things on LinkedIn, these things were effective and it warmed up what I could do. Salespeople right now, if you are ignoring the marketing department, you are making sales so much harder than it has to be.
Being on the same page, sales is not easy. Let's not kid ourselves. So in other words, what we're doing is we're using the resources that we have. Brent is jumping in again. I think we move from MQLs to aligned KPIs. Yes, this is the whole thing. It's one common objective that we're going for. Both parties celebrate when the number is achieved. Both parties question when the number is not achieved. But it has to be a team effort. And that's why it's got to be joined at the top all the way down through the organization. Hey, time is ripping by. You ready for the book?
I am.
Our good friend, Marcus Sheridan. If you don't know Marcus Sheridan, he is a great guy to hang out with. His book, They Ask, You Answer. He's got a terrific background in marketing and consumer. What's your thoughts on the book?
I love the book. In fact, when I was looking for a book to feature this week, I went back and I'm rereading it right now. And it's just basically Marcus Sheridan is brilliant in the area of sales, and it's great if you want to look for more ways to align marketing and sales. Check this one out.
And early on in his business career, when he was selling pools, he did things that nobody would do, but he did it and created an absolutely amazing business. So anyway, the book, They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. Okay, you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
Top 10 ways to follow up without being annoying.
All right, great. Number 1, talk to your marketing department. Get aligned with the marketing department.
Number 2, make sure every message you have is value-oriented for that individual customer.
Yeah, find a way to introduce them to somebody else in your network that would be valuable.
Oh, you stole that one from me, man. Number 4, make sure that you're bringing to them insights of what's happening in the industry. Be the macro person, not the micro person.
Yeah, have a webinar, have a masterclass, invite them to something that they could gain value from and look to you as more of a resource.
Engage them and use the information that they've shared with you. In other words, they've shared with you insights, they've shared with you things. Play back to them that information, adding commentary, adding things, not just nice question, nice piece of information, but real meat that they can use.
Yeah, share a success story with them. Share an example of where somebody facing the same problem they've had, and you've been able to really help them, help them solve that problem.
Don't even think of the word annoying if what you're doing is giving them value every time. We allow that little bird in the back of our or on our shoulder to say, oh, we're annoying them. That's because you're reaching out saying, buy from me. Get rid of that. Focus on delivering value.
Yeah, reframe follow-up to be thought of as a way to continue to build and enhance the relationship, not land the deal.
And I'll close it down by saying, play the long game. Remember, hey, some deals can take a long time because, again, it's all about buyer intent and being on the buyer journey. Hey, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Something we've said has earned you a single dollar. Consider telling a friend about our show because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meredith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right, everybody go talk to the marketing department. If you don't have a marketing department, bake some marketing into your sales process. We'll see you right back here next week for another episode of Sales Logic. Until then, go close a deal. Have a good week.